Capra Hombre. I was staying for 5 days at my grandfather's house in Mexico. Everything was great. We all loved to sit around a good old campfire and listen to one of my grandpa's collection of great ghost stories. The third day of my stay, Grandpa told us kids about a horrible beast with fangs, goat horns, a man face, red eyes, goat body, legs and arms like that of any other regular man, but with hooves for fingers. I do remember that we were all extremely scared of it, and would obey any order if they threatened to call the creature if we didn't do so. Then, the adults would laugh their heads off after seeing us nearly pee ourselves. What I don't remember is the creature's original name, but I have not forgotten that, based on what we kids were told that it looked like, we called it the Capra Hombre, meaning goat man for those who don't know Spanish. Eventually, my cousins and I forgot about the beast's existence, until one day, my grandfather's neighbor told us that his animals had all been killed, and obviously not by a fox or a coyote, for an animal like that would have been the animals all over, while his dead animals had bite marks, well, kind of like two little holes, a bit separated somewhere in their necks, and they were completely drained, no blood. The beast even took the dogs. The last day of my stay, my cousins and I were dozing off in the living room when we heard a heavy thing land hard on the roof. I am the oldest cousin, so I told everyone else to stay inside. Me and another cousin grabbed our rifles, ready to shoot any old thief streaking up on the house. We took out a flashlight and shone it on the wheat, where we saw the ugliest and most horrible thing. The Cabrahombre. My cousin shone the flashlight at the beast and I aimed and shot its leg 3 times in a row. The creature fell, and I thought that we could finally show the adults that the creature we were told about was real. Wrong. The thing struggled in the dirt and finally got up on its feet and jumped to the roof of the barn, then jumped off and disappeared. The Porcelain Joker Clown. I was 8 years old when my Aunt Wendy, who lived in Tennessee, gave me a porcelain Joker doll that had what looked like a red teardrop. We were getting ready for bed, and since we were staying with them, we didn't have anywhere to put it. My mom set it on the shelf in the front room. While my mom and I were lying there talking, we got the feeling that something was watching us. When we looked around, no one was in there and everyone was asleep. My mom looked over to the Joker doll and noticed that it was pointed towards us. Knowing that she had faced it towards the door, my mom got up and turned it to face the wall. We lay there talking for a few minutes when we heard a scratching noise on the shelf, like something heavy was being turned around. When we looked over to the shelf, the Joker doll was pointed towards us again. Thinking it was my cousin, we went to her room to see, and she was asleep. I knew this as I hit her leg, and she was never a good faker. After realizing she was asleep, we went back into the front room and I laid the Joker flat on its face. Later that night, while everyone was still asleep, my mom got up to use the bathroom and realized that the Joker was lying on its back. So my mom got it and put it in the bag with our clothes, and the feeling as if someone was watching us left. The next morning, we got a call about a house. In the process, my mom told my dad that she wanted to get rid of the doll. My dad said no because my aunt gave it to me. We were unloading some stuff, and my mom put the Joker doll in our hallway closet, hoping my dad wouldn't find it. Much to our dislike, my dad watched my mom put it there. My dad brought it into the bedroom and put it on the dresser. He said, "This is where I want it to stay." The feeling of being watched returned. I was laying there, glanced at my dresser to the Joker doll, and noticed it had an evil smile on its face. I hollered for my mom, and when she came in, she noticed it too, so she put it in my drawer. The next morning, we were telling my dad about what happened. He was not believing in that stuff, told us to shut up and that we were making it up. My mom decided to call my Aunt Wendy to ask her if she ever noticed anything out of the ordinary. And my aunt said yes, and that was the reason they put it in the shed out back. Later that night, my dad came home from work, and we told him what my aunt had told us. Unfortunately, my aunt denied it all, making my mom and I look like idiots. So again that night, my mom put it back in the dresser drawer. She went to turn the coffee pot on so my dad would have coffee the next morning and went to bed. The next day, my mom and I were sitting in the kitchen. My dad came into the kitchen holding the Joker doll and told us he said he wanted it to stay on my dresser. Being 8 years old, I knew I better listen. I listened to him, and I went and I put it on my dresser. He then started cussing, saying that he didn't see any problem with the Joker doll and that we better keep it on my dresser. He didn't believe in stuff like that. I asked my mom if she would lie down with me, and she said yes. Still, feeling an evil presence in the room, my mom said a prayer with me, and we fell asleep. The next morning, when my dad got up, he came into the room where we were and told my mom that he wanted the doll out of there. My mom says that she thought he didn't believe in things like that, yet he just now decides that he wants the doll out of the house. He began telling her that the night before, he got up to use the bathroom, stepped into my room, and the Joker doll had an evil smile on its face, and he heard an evil laugh. Now believing us, he went into my room, got the Joker doll, took it outside and tried to burn it. Only the clothes burnt, and the face turned black from the smoke. Then he got it out from the trash barrel and hit it with a hammer, but only part of its face chipped. Getting freaked out, he took it to the neighborhood dumpster and threw it in there. We never saw it again, and everything in my room went back to normal. A week later, I became friends with a boy in my class, and we were all over at his parents' for supper when I looked in the front room. On a shelf, there was a Joker doll, just like the one I used to have. Later, my mom asked if she could look at it, and she noticed a mark where it was made that mine didn't have, and it didn't have the red teardrop. After seeing that, my mom asked where they got it from. They told her what store, and my mom called my Aunt Wendy to ask her about my doll. She told my mom it was the same store. My mom asked my aunt about the teardrop, and my aunt said that she asked the store clerk about it, as it was the only one with the teardrop. The teardrop didn't look like any kind of paint, so it looked more like blood. When my dad got on the phone, he asked my aunt about it again. My aunt told him what they had experienced. They thought that it didn't have anything to do with the Joker doll, even though she said they felt an evil feeling, like someone watching them, which went away when the Joker doll was in the shed. You can choose to believe this or not, or if you don't, please don't post any rude comments. I was wondering if the reason the Joker doll was like that couldn't have been made by someone that was into witchcraft. During our Christmas caroling, my scary experience happened during my last year in high school. As a tradition during Christmas in our school, my teachers organized caroling to raise funds for some school activities. For those who don't know what it is, we go house to house, sing Christmas songs, and the house owner gives us money, but no obligation whatsoever though. Caroling session is normally done at night. Just to give you an idea of my location, we are in a rural place, or the countryside. The roads are not cemented, no streetlights, houses are far from each other, rice fields are a lot of it. At night, people are normally at home, so you can either hear the crickets or the dogs. So this one night, it was caroling night again. About 12 of us in the group, one teacher and the rest are my classmates. We start around 7 to 8 p.m., And since our meeting place is at my teacher's house, we started our caroling at nearby houses. We were just walking, going from place to place. About 2 hours passed, and it's getting really late at night. We reached this place with a particularly old big tree just around the corner of a street. I had heard a lot of ghost stories, especially the White Lady. Before we arrived there, we walked about 15 minutes when there's nothing except rice fields. We walked past this tree and we were all very scared, but luckily, none of us felt anything weird. So we continue walking, but still have an eerie vibe. I only saw 2 or 3 houses in the area with a lot of big trees. We stopped on the first house and started singing our Christmas song. After a while, we saw one of our classmates crying without any reason. Some of them tried to calm her down, but she can't be stopped. She didn't say anything, just crying, and it was getting even louder. Moments later, she looked at me and told me not to look at the tree, pointing at the tree. She said she saw a Capra with red eyes, smiling and looking at me. For those who don't know, the Capra is a big man with hair all around its body like a monkey, and it lives in a tree. It usually smokes tobacco at night and smells like fish sauce. At this time, I felt super scared and almost fainted. I was also crying that time, and I didn't dare to look at that tree, not even a glance. My group decided that we leave that place immediately, so we walked back and spent the rest of the night at our school, which is about a 1.5 hour walk. At the school, we all stayed in one room on the second floor. It's an ordinary classroom, so each of us chose the most comfortable place to sleep. Surrounding this classroom are big trees. There are glass windows on one side of the wall. In the middle of my sleep, I was awoken up because my whole body in my chair was shaking, and it was shaking very strong. I know I was awake and it wasn't a dream. I didn't open my eyes because I was so scared. It lasted for about 3 minutes. My arms and my legs are so numb. I just ignored it and fell back to sleep later on. Until now, I'm still unsure what happened that night.